Well, thank you so much, Kel, for hopping on with me today. I'm so fucking excited to talk to you.
I'm happy to talk to you as well.
You probably don't remember me. I don't know if I actually had a chance to say hi to you because I was like super sick during the competition, so I only was able to talk to a couple of people. But I watched you the whole time you were on stage, and I was just so impressed
Oh,
with
thank you.
what you brought out to the stage. It was so awesome, like seeing you and all the guys up there, and Josie and everyone. Um, so I kind of wanted to start by asking you. Um, Basically back to the beginning. Like I want to get to the IATVP competition, but I really want to know a little bit more about you, being the person who won the competition overall. Um, how did you get from point A to point B? Like what got you started in lifting and bodybuilding like way back? Like what got you into it? I'm really curious.
Well, it's kind of a weird journey who got me here. I actually started doing CrossFit a long, long time ago. I was actually sitting at a bar across the street from a CrossFit club and saw them all running, and I'm like, man, I should really get into that. And so I started, and I did CrossFit for like, I don't know, like 3.5 years or so. I ended up injuring myself really bad, and I ruptured one of the discs in my back, and essentially that my entire nerve down my left leg went numb, and so I had no feeling, and essentially I couldn't pull my foot up on one side, so I couldn't run or do anything like quickly. So that like shot my CrossFit working out. So
Yeah.
it,
CrossFit's out of the picture at that point.
yeah, if you can't move quickly in different motions, it's kind of hard to do that. So I found a coach online just to kind of keep up with my fitness. I ended up working with Coach Cody, who competed in the competition several
Yeah,
years
former
ago.
competitor.
Yeah. And so I was just doing like lifestyle working out and really liked it. And kind of just wanted a new goal to compete towards. So bodybuilding was it. And it's all history from there, I suppose.
Do you do you still like upset about the fact that you can't go back and do CrossFit, or are you kind of like, oh, maybe it was a blessing in disguise because I love this other thing now? Like, how do you feel about that whole
To
situation?
be honest, I think it's completely a blessing in disguise. The only thing I really miss out of the CrossFit community is the community aspect.
Right.
So it was kind of fun to like come to a gym where you know everybody, work out together, all that kind of stuff. And that part I do miss, but I really like the individualism and like the I guess just the journey that you can go on in bodybuilding. To be able to like kind of put your mind to something and see the changes that you're making on the outside is really cool. So in that way, I really like it, and I have fallen in love with the sport of it all. So I'm very happy where I'm at right now in the journey.
Okay. Cool. I mean, I'm glad that something that was so tragic, I'm sure in the moment, like ended up working out for you, and now, you're actually getting to be competitive in something. I know for me that's huge. Just like I've always been a competitive person, so
Yeah.
if I can find a new way to channel that energy, like, it's no big deal if one sport I have to move on from one to the other, as long as I get to have goals to work towards. So, yeah.
Yeah. The goal
I'm sure a
thing
lot
is
of
like a
people.
big thing for me. So
Yeah, yeah, being goal oriented for sure. I'm sure a lot of people relate to that. I think that's why a lot of people do bodybuilding.
I think so.
Yeah.
Crazy people.
Um so you mentioned you work with Cody, so anybody listening may or may not know, but Cody is actually a former competitor of ours as well, and I didn't even know this until because I only started working with the organization in 2019, but I dug up some old pictures and I saw him there, and I was like, oh snap, like, generations of competitors, now he's coaching you, and I just thought that was so cool. So was he the one that got you interested in competing, or like what got you interested in getting up on stage as opposed to just like the lifestyle bodybuilding stuff?
I think I don't think he got me into it necessarily. I watched the Man-Made documentary, which I saw him in, and that was kind of after we had already started working together. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't know you. Oh crap, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss.
You can, yeah, you're good.
But I saw him in the movie, and I'm like, oh, and I kind of mentioned something to him, and he just at one point, I think it was a little bit hazy, but 'cause it was like a year before the competition happened. I had started thinking about it, and he's like, well, you're dedicated enough, because once I get an idea in my head, I kind of go full throttle. I'm not like a gray kind of person. I'm very either all or nothing. And he's like, you're dedicated enough. You could probably do this if you wanted to, and kind of just started rolling from there. So.
And you just kind of like, so you're saying it was the documentary really that made you consider like competing, or like what kind of got you started thinking about that, you know?
It got me considering it, just because I knew it was going to be a long time till I was like quote unquote big enough to compete in like we'll say like a mainstream show, like a local show with like cis guys. And this kind of just seemed like a nice intermediary. So like competing with people who were like me, started where I was. Yeah, even playing field, I suppose.
Okay, so the ITBP show that you did this year, so this is then the first show that you've ever competed
Ever
in?
done. Yeah, yeah.
Ever. Okay. What was that experience like? Like, prepping for your for show, and um, what was your plan like going into it and getting to stage? Since like only a year before you were kind of like not 100%. You're like, should I do this? Like,
Yeah, so like I would say probably it was in quarantine. So in quarantine I was like, I need a goal. I had already thought about, so I knew that the show existed, but everything was in lockdown. So like it's not like anybody had anything to do. So I was like working out, and then when all the gyms closed, because I'm in Ohio, when all the gyms closed, I have enough equipment that I was like doing stuff at home that Cody was programming, and I'm like, Cody, I really want to do this show. So we had a plan probably 8 months before it would have been October. So I'm not going to do that math, but so we had a plan, and I kind of knew I was going to want to do it. And Cody's prepped people before. He's prepped himself. He prepped for that show, and he's done other shows. So we knew I was going to start prep, like official prep, contest prep in May. So I started in May for the October show. So I knew it was going to be hard. I kind of assumed it was going to be hard physically, but it was way more mental than I expected. It was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. It was super difficult, especially like during prep, or during the summer. So everybody's like going out and cookouts, and it was also when people were starting to get released from quarantine, so everybody was like, let's catch up. And I'm like, I'm not drinking, I'm only eating what I'm bringing this Tupperware, like. And I mean, working out all the time, so it was different. It was hard, and it made me learn so much about myself and my character, which is not something I expected. I thought it was all going to be like physical, like, yeah, this sucks, but it's just I'm tired and my body hurts. But it was a lot more mental than I thought, and it made me discover stuff about myself that I had no idea it was going to bring up, kind of, if that makes
I mean,
sense.
can you like dive into that a little bit more? Like, I'm kind of curious, like
Yeah,
what did you
so
discover about yourself? Because I hear that a lot listening to lots of other competitors and other organizations. They're like, yeah, it's like a almost a spiritual experience, or like it's like it brings up all this stuff in you that you didn't even know was in you, and you're just sitting there like, what? Like you're just lifting weights and dieting. Like, what are you
right.
talking about?
It's
Like, I
crazy,
want to
but
know.
I think it plays so much into, and I think it and I've talked to Cody about this actually a lot, just because we have kind of similar paths. But especially as a trans person or as a person who like didn't have the body that they always wanted growing up, being able to have this in your complete control. So like every time you screw up on your diet or you miss a gym cycle or something like that, you can see the effects completely. It's all within your control. And without having any control over your body for so long, it's just mind blowing. And it's probably the most rewarding experience I've ever had, just because it's like I have complete control over this. I can see every ounce of dedication I put in. I can see every time I didn't get a beer and like stuck to the plan. I can see that paying off. I have complete control of everything. And like then just meeting those goals. So like every month or so, like you can see major changes and being like, oh, I can actually do this. Like this is a thing that I have control over. And like so I work in food. So like dieting and working in food is like
Yeah.
very silly and like hard and um tempting, and it's just like completely going my own path, and it's like and having that dedication of character and knowing that you had that in you and like being able to like control it and see it come to fruition, and it's just really rewarding, and being able to have that kind of like self-fulfilling prophecy, but not in a bad way, like in a good way. Like it's just
Yeah,
so
yeah.
cool, like to be able to see a goal, reach it, and just the trans thing on top of it. It was just something like magical. Like to be completely honest, I'm like I'm the man I always wanted to be that I never thought I could be. And yeah, I know it's not all in the outside, but when you didn't have that outside matching for so long, to be able to like control and see it come through and be that person you always like daydreamed about. It's just pure trans joy instead of like
Yeah.
body dysmorphia. It's just like joy.
So,
Kind of.
so you're saying from your experience, like you feel like prep in and of itself is almost like a unique, almost euphoric experience, maybe in a way that like a cis person can't completely understand because they didn't have that experience of like feeling like they didn't like you're saying I don't want to say have control over their body, but like, you know, you feel like it's almost part of your discovering more about like who you are and getting closer to who you feel you're supposed to be, like in a really intimate way. It sounds like you're saying, like with yourself.
It's very intimate, and it's also very like tactile. Like
Right.
it's not some it's like that first time you see like, when you if you get on testosterone, you first like facial hair you see or something,
Right, right.
like
The
this really
euphoria.
big picture, right? And then adding the muscle and like having those goals. Like I think that's just a very obvious bodybuilder experience. Like it's cool to be able to get those goals and stuff like that, but like this on top of it was just kind of I think it's a special thing that not a lot of bodybuilders can experience.
Yeah. I would agree with that for sure. Um so I'm kind of curious. I was wondering if maybe you could share with us just one of like maybe the biggest like kind of challenge or road bump that you had during your prep. Like like was there a moment where you're like you were ready to just say like fuck this and just you know like quit or some, you
Um,
know, what was like a
yeah.
really challenging moment for you and how did you deal with that? Like what was it, your coach or was it something with you or like what? Yeah.
I would say, okay, so I'm gonna kind of do like give you two answers. So
Okay.
one answer was like I think, and I'm not sure if it's just like the crowd. I not necessarily like my friends I've met mostly through the party scene. I feel like our queer community is really built into the bar scene, the drinking scene, kind of just the partying place. Because back in queer history, I mean, if you want to go that deep, it's all circular around bars and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so like I hang out with sometimes rowdy crew. So like having a completely go a different path with like cutting out. I didn't drink the entire time, so it was like 200 days or something. I was bringing, like I said, I was bringing my Tupperware to like weddings, to like to
Jesus.
like it. So that was hard, but like people love me and support me, and you kind of get over it, right? But it was being like a little bit of FOMO, and then and that was like the first hard part, I guess. I probably hit that stride in like June, July. So I started prep in May, June, July. I was kind of going through that, like, this is going to be difficult just because like no one else is in, like, this is a solitary thing. Yeah, you have your coach, but like it was kind of just recognizing goals, like recognizing what you want. What's the bigger picture? Do you want to have this goal that you want to reach at the end, or do you want to live in these short-term dopamine hits almost? So that was like the first hard part. And then the second hard part, I would say, was hitting me around the end of August, September, when like prep was getting real. Like the diet was hard. I was on the stairs for hours. Like it was just exhausting, and I was just like starting to get tired all the time because I mean, that's the sport of it, right? That's what any bodybuilder would have to go through. I mean, the diet's hard, the working out's hard. It was just getting to the point where I was like, I think I hit the top amount of cardio I was doing was like an hour and a half on stairs every day. And it was just like, this sucks. This just sucks. and I think just remembering what Cody would always say was just like, picture yourself on stage. You don't want to have anything left in the tank. You don't want to have any regrets. And that's kind of just what I went with, was like, I want to know when I stood up there that I could not have gave 1 ounce more of myself. And just having that in my head, like, I don't want to have any regrets. And that's kind of how I live.
Right.
Like, I just want to leave it all on the field kind of thing. So
yeah,
it's what that, having that mantra, and like, this is just temporary. Like, food's going to be back. Not having to be on these stairs is going to happen. So it's temporary, and you just I wanted to give it my all, and like not have anything left. So.
Right. Well, I mean, it's good that you did, because yeah, you really you showed out for sure. I was impressed.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I was sitting kind of in the back left corner, and from my angle, when the judges were making their calls, I was like, oh, like, I don't know why, because another guy from that angle looked a little bit more muscular than you. But then when I went, I kind of stood near where the judges were. I could see like all the striations and everything, and I was like, nah, I was like, it wasn't a question. Like, quads filled out, hamstrings filled out. I was like, yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it's always scary when you're up there, because it's hard to, like, at that point it was like no water, starving. I'm like, I just want to be done. I'm like, and you can't tell when you're like in it, really. At least I couldn't. It's my first thing, so.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's hard to tell, even like, just like I said, depending on where you are in the audience. Like, if you're not sitting right where the judges are sitting, like, that's really the best view of everybody's physique, and you can really see like the little differences and stuff. And so yeah, when I stood there, I could see exactly like all the reasons that you won. So it's good. You really did leave it all out there, man. Like, it was really good.
Tried my best, so it was pretty exciting.
So this is your first competition, and I was, speaking of like getting on stage and stuff, I was wondering, like, what was it like for you being at a competition like the IATBP, like competing with all other trans folks on stage? Because not that there's not a really cool like brotherhood and camaraderie in the other shows, and I know that there is from speaking to other competitors at like NPC and stuff, but as a trans athlete, I'm just wondering what the experience was like for you getting to compete within your community, if it was positive or if it was like you're like, oh, it was fun, but It
No,
was
I
just
mean,
yeah.
yeah, I think it was really awesome. It was really fun. It was a cool thing because like everybody was just so happy and so supportive, and it was just everybody was cheering each other on. It didn't necessarily like feel like a competition. It felt like everybody wanted each other to win, which was like kind of cool. And it's just like I don't necessarily think that you would get the same vibes at like an NPC show. Um, yeah, I mean, it was really fun. It was really cool, and I met some really awesome, hardworking guys, and Josie was awesome, and it was just I feel like everybody just really bonded in that shared experience. I mean, how can you not when you're getting up there like mostly naked with a bunch of, like, of your fellow people? Like it's just a wholly unique experience, and it was cool to share that with people who were all so excited to be there and to be there for each other.
For sure. Yeah, that's good to hear. It's just like from someone who works with the organization, I know for us, like we would love to get to the point where we are competitive in kind of a similar way to like the WNBF or the NPC one day way off in the future. Like we would love to be at that level. But the most important thing for us is building that community with y'all. Like we really want to create a unique space where it's, trans athletes competing against each other and judged by other trans athletes, who understand what it's like to be there and just, um, you know, I don't know what it's like for y'all as the competitors personally, but I just can't imagine what it must be like doing this versus like having to get on stage in another competition where you can't really be out about who you are, or maybe it's just not something, or like maybe you're afraid to tell people, or it's something that you're kind of hoping that people don't find out about, or I don't know, like I like that it's something that you're like, okay, I don't have to feel like I'm hiding anything here,
Right.
I'm just existing as myself. um, is that something that you think about at all? Because I know that you said that this is kind of like a I don't want to say an intermediate show, but like kind of a way to get on stage and get the experience of a prep, maybe before going and competing like in other organizations. Like, how do you think about stepping from here to then going on and competing in non-trans organizations? Like,
Yeah. So I definitely want to do like an NPC show eventually. That is like one of my goals. And it is something I've definitely thought about, and it was really important for me, and not necessarily just as like an intermediate show. Like that's not necessarily the reason I did it like this. I really did want to feel like safe first.
right.
Like that was like I don't need to have like 8 million juggling balls in the air. You know what I mean? So like not having to worry about that part of my life and just being able to focus on the prep and the bodybuilding part and the posing, getting all that down, getting my experience under my belt in a safe environment was important to me. And that's mostly why I wanted to do this show. Like I wanted to be able to feel that safety in the room and be able to focus on the sport, right? Without having to worry about that. And because it is something I think about, like I don't want to talk like bad about the bodybuilding community in whole, but like a lot of times it's big old macho guys, right? And that's
Right.
everybody thinks. And I think I don't think necessarily that it's gonna like something that would hold me back, because there are other trans athletes who compete in
Mhm.
NPC shows and they do fine, and I haven't heard anything necessarily bad, but it's a level of security that I think everybody thinks about, especially in the world we're living in today. Like
Mhm.
we're super divided, so it would be just that thought in general public, I guess, and being half naked doesn't help.
No, definitely doesn't. So you're saying it's kind of like, do you feel like then maybe for like a trans person trying to compete in other organizations, like you already have to deal with all the complications that come with prep, but then kind of on top of that, there's like this additional worry that maybe your like cis athlete competitors, like don't really have to worry about. They get to just focus on
Yeah, exactly.
on the prep, and you're kind of like a little worried for your safety on top of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's always something that I feel like you have to have in the back of your mind. Like
Right.
I don't live in like California where it's always gonna be like not saying that it's always accepted in California either, but like it's not like a super liberal spot. So like yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
Um, well, I mean, I'm glad that the ICVP made a space for you, has a space for you to do that and to kind of get that experience in without having to worry about it. And of course, you're always welcome to come back and compete
Appreciate.
if you ever just feeling like you just want to do another prep, but you don't want to deal with like a bigger organization. We're here.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, thank you. And I'm thankful for the show to exist for that kind of thing. So I mean, it's wonderful to feel safe in that kind of environment. And Atlanta was like my second home for a long time. So
was it
it's nice
really?
to be back there. Yeah, I did. I used to do. I had to travel a lot for work, and I would do 2 weeks in Columbus and 2 weeks in Atlanta, and back and forth for like 6 months.
Oh
It was a crazy schedule, but
wow.
so yeah, I spent a lot of time in Atlanta.
Dang, I didn't know that. Yeah, I was actually surprised because I expected a lot more local competitors, but pretty much everybody came from out of state and like several people from California. I was like, wow, like we're just this little itty bitty baby competition and y'all came from all over the country just to step on stage for like an hour.
Heck yeah.
It was humbling for me. I was honored.
Yeah, I mean it's the one of a kind, right? Like I mean, and I think that that's pretty that's a big thing. Like it's the only one that exists that has that safety for a lot of people. So
Yeah, I would agree with that. Um, so kind of to finish off, I am wondering like now that you've got this first kind of initial competitive experience under your belt, what does it look like for you moving forward? Like in the short term, what are you looking to do like competitively? Are you going to take kind of a long off season or go straight back into competing? And then in the long term, kind of like what are your goals? So it's kind of a two-part question.
okay, yeah, yeah. So fitness is just a really big thing in my life. Like I ended up getting my NASM, my personal training certification. So like it is something that's really really important to me. I have started bulking, so I'm trying to bulk for about probably at least 2 years. So a big long off season. I'm still working with Cody. We really enjoying. I love the guy. He's awesome. He's a kick-ass coach. So just gonna stay with him. He's growing me as big as possible. I want to eventually do another show in like a NPC show eventually once I get what I've deemed big enough. uh,
Yeah. That's
so
a
we'll see
tough
how long
one.
that takes, how my body responds, and that's kind of where I see myself. I don't um, have any like I don't want to get giant. I don't want to be like a mass monster or anything like that. That's not my goal. I just want to get as big as I can, make it look cool. But fitness is always going to be a part of my life. I really love going to the gym. I still go 6 days a week, work out. Yeah, so I just keep evolving from here, keep running, being healthy, running around, doing all the fun things.
And this is like all that you're kind of doing right now? Or do you like do bodybuilding with other stuff or like have you dipped your toe into anything else at the moment? Or are you kind of like,
Um,
no, this is the oh, my mic just fell. I am so sorry.
oh, that's okay. Um,
Oh,
I
yeah.
I'm really active in like a lot of different things. So like I bodybuild a lot, but I also kayak and hike and snowboard and mountain bike and it's anything I can be doing outside, essentially moving is what I like to do. So um, basically, I just like being active, and I want to do that forever until
Okay.
my 80s. That's the goal. So.
as far as like competing, you're singing. You're like, I'm gonna just stick to this bodybuilding thing for a while, probably.
Oh yeah, I'm just sticking with bodybuilding. I think one goal is enough.
I don't know, because there are some people out there that they're like, okay, I'm gonna do bodybuilding, and I'm gonna do powerlifting, and I'm gonna do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I'm gonna be competitive in all of them. And I'm like,
Oh heck no.
good
No,
luck with that.
yeah, I think but my life is busy enough, so I think bodybuilding will do it for me for right now.
Okay, cool. So I know I said that was the last question, but it's kind of my last question about you personally. My kind of my closeout that I really always like to get with people is kind of what is there anything that you kind of want to say to anybody listening, which surprisingly there actually might be people listening. We're a really small organization, but I'm shocked at how many people like told me they really loved the interview I did with Damien, our previous winner. So
Good.
I'm seeing that there's some, value to the folks listening that want to maybe compete with us, but don't really know if that's the thing that they should be doing. So is there anything that you maybe wish somebody had told you when you started lifting or thought about competing, or that you think people should hear, like other trans folks that are thinking about competing? Like, what is there anything that you kind of want to let them know who are like on the fence about if they want to start lifting weights, or if they want to, maybe they've been lifting weights but they want to start competing and they just don't know if they should take that leap, because it is, prep is such a
Yeah.
commitment.
Right.
Yeah.
So to the people who don't know if they want to start like lifting, just do it. It's badass. It makes you feel so empowered. Getting strong as hell is so fun, and it really is transformative. I think fitness in general is transformative to anybody. As far as thinking about getting on stage and thinking about competing, just take it seriously. It is a big commitment. Really it's a lot of work, and I don't want to sugarcoat that in any way, but also like if you really put your head to it and do it, it's so worth it. I would 100% get a coach, because having someone who tells you what to do and like take that mental break out of it. Like I'm a trainer, like I can program workouts, but it's not that when you're coaching. Like you need someone to just be like to tell you how it is and be honest with you, and kind of just push you in a way that you can't really do. You just have to have that outside feedback in some way. I think it's really important. So have someone who's going to be painfully honest with you, and kind of let you know when you're ready. But I would say if you want to compete, put your whole heart into it. Don't half-ass it. Just do it. Just if you think you want to do it, just go full throttle, and make yourself proud. And it really is a transformative experience, and can be really great for your mental health. I know everybody says it's super hard on your head, but I really found it to be the opposite. So it really helped me mentally, mental health wise, to be honest.
Oh.
So.
I mean, that's good to hear. That is definitely different. Some people say it's really harrowing mentally, but you're saying it really actually helped you.
I think,
Um,
yeah, I think there's I think it was extremely helpful to my mental health. Absolutely.
wow, that's really cool. Okay, so basically what you're telling people who want to compete is get a coach that won't sugarcoat it,
Yeah.
and and once you make the decision, don't half-ass it.
Half-ass it. Just go full ass.
Okay, cool. Sounds good to me. Well, yeah, I mean, that's all the questions that I have. Is there anything that maybe you think you want to say, or that I left out, any, that
Um,
maybe you were hoping to talk about, or just kind of your
I'm good. I didn't have any expectations. Absolutely. If anybody ever has any questions about like it, or wants to go any deeper, like they can hit me up on Instagram. I'm more than welcome to help share anything that I can do to help get the word out there. I think bodybuilding for trans people, especially non-binary and any queer folk, I think is such a rewarding experience in a way that it doesn't really hit the same as the cis community. So spread that gospel all day long. So anybody ever has any questions, feel free to hit me up. So
Yeah, you mentioned your Instagram. What can you tell people what that is and where they can find you?
yeah, it's Kel's, yeah.
You're like, yeah,
13.
I know my Instagram, right?
I think there's an underscore in there somewhere. Hold on one second. Uh,
It'll be funny if I know your Instagram better than you do because I've been talking to you on there
that is fair.
and tagging you.
No one ever gets on their own. Kel underscore yeah 13. There we
Okay, there we go. And that's where people can find you, like primarily?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm a geezer, so I'm not on any of the other socials.
Okay, cool. Well, there you go. That's you can hit him up. If you want to train with you, I'm assuming you're also a coach, right? Or a trainer.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Do you do online or in
Yeah,
person
just
only?
online right now. On same place. Hit me up on Instagram.
Okay, cool.
See what we can do.
Okay, cool. Good. Well, thanks so much for your time. I hope that I kept it short enough. I was trying to,
Nah,
you
it's
know,
perfect.
get into stuff a little deep, but like not take up too much of your time. So, yeah, thanks for giving me a like half an hour, 40 minutes of your afternoon. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, anytime. Thank you so much.
Thank you.